morning, students and parents. Hope you're doing well. This reading fluency, I'm going to look at what if it's too difficult for someone who's struggling with reading in fourth grade. And the solution to that is find a paragraph that the reader can be successful with, just one paragraph, and then add a second paragraph that is maybe right next to it. Doesn't necessarily have to be that way, but reading what level that you can and reading words from the passages that you can is what we're focusing on. I'm going to also read through the fluency reading. For the first reading, underline words that you might have difficulty with. There are some names that are capitalized. Those are capitalized nouns. There's always the most difficult are names of places and people. And then there's also a table at the bottom. So try and think of what genre this might be from an assignment we've had in the past. For our fluency reading, I'm going to read through about 120 to 140 words a minute. This time I'm going to number the paragraphs first. And I'm going to show you what happens if, let's say we have a student who can't read through this completely in the first read. I would have a parent or another sibling that's older that can get through this. Look for paragraphs that you think might be easy. Now, I'm not sure what paragraphs are the easiest in this one, because sometimes people know, like Abraham Lincoln, and they've never really sounded out his word. They just know who Abraham Lincoln in here. And here we have Dwight D. Eisenhower. So that might be a troubling word. Again, this is all capitals. It's a name of a person, and persons' names or places are the hardest things to pronounce because they can be in another language. So they mention Roosevelt, Franklin D. Roosevelt, another name that's difficult. So this one might be, this one down here is the easiest one. So I'd say this is easy, or at least the easiest of them. So I'm going to start from here and read from here and see what words might confuse someone who's having difficulty reading this entire passage. 40 years and 429 billion. They might have trouble with a billion. Later, the web of roads was finally done. By then, cars, trucks, and buses were going 500 billion. So this has some very large numbers written out in standard miles a year on the roads. So a person having difficulty reading the whole passage, just take passage 4. And the two new words that they have in their vocabulary are billion and trillion. Now, you can see this makes a very good lesson on phonics because they both end in the same sound. It's just the beginning sound that's different. So that's my suggestion for parents who are struggling with readers. The parents can even read through this with them and ask them, which word do you think you're going to get stuck on? And have the child underline the word and write the word. The parent doesn't underline or write. The parent doesn't do anything with this. The child does everything on top of this. Now I'm going to go ahead and read through at 120 to 140 words a minute. And I'm going to underline words that might be a little bit confusing. We already have a couple names in here that are confusing. There may be some more. Today, highways crisscross the United States. If you want to drive from the East Coast to the West Coast, you can choose from many different routes. This incredible web of roads is very young. In 2006, the American Interstate Highway System had its 50th anniversary. This is kind of almost pronounced as one word, so you have to get through that. 50th anniversary. This one too. These are almost pronounced like one word. Incredible may be a word that they have difficulty with. The first person to really push for good roads was President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He felt that Americans should be able to go across their great country on a system of connected roads. In the late 1930s, Roosevelt planned 3 routes, there's routes again, in there twice, from the east to west and 5 more from north to south. Shup's dreams were grand, and World War II made it impossible to begin building roads. It fell to another president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, to make it possible. In 1956, Eisenhower signed an act into law that allowed work to begin. 40 years and $425 billion later, the web of roads was finally done. By then, cars, trucks, and buses were going 500 billion miles a year on the roads. The early plans for the interstate system were mostly followed. In the chart below, you can see exactly how big those ideas were. So here they give us a chart. Sometimes this is called a chart, sometimes it's called a table. So I like to call these tables. A chart and a graph. A graph shows a line, but a chart and a table is where you start your graph or chart from. Or a graph shows just the numbers with a line. A chart or a table shows you the information, usually in rows and columns. So lanes, shoulders. The shoulder of the road is the side of the road. So we have lanes, which are roads that are 2 ways. And we have shoulders. Total mileage, entrances and exits, overpasses and bridges, completion date, federal budget. Their size 56. Okay, so they had a $25 billion federal budget, and then in the end they wound up with $425 billion later. So this budget was too small for them to complete the job. All right, so the next thing, of course, is to write in the words that we might have trouble with. Kind of across from the word that there is, where we found it in the paragraph. Interstate highway system. I'm going to kind of leave that there. 50th anniversary, I'm going to leave here. This one for sure, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Especially that last name, Eisenhower. Howard we can see, but this Eisen part is very unusual. We already got billion and trillion. Lanes and shoulders are what make up the roads. And that would be your first read. Now, do you think this is an imaginary thing that happened, or you think this is something that is like part of history? And if you said, I think this is part of something history, I know that this president's, they don't make up presidents' names, and they have a lot of details down here that have a lot of facts. Numbers are facts, and they're associated with what they completed. Dates are facts. So this is, like we said before, is nonfiction. That means it's not imaginary. Remember, fiction means imaginary, even if it seems like real, but it's characters that the authors made up that would be imaginary. Nonfiction means not imaginary. Oh, I put note. Is that better? And this is giving us information which also makes it expository. And how did they arrange this? Their dreams were grand. They use some adjectives in here to expand on making this writing interesting. But mostly it's facts. These are all facts down here. And whether the dreams were grand or not is an opinion. So it's facts and opinions in this expository writing. The dates aren't necessarily in order. They are talking in very broad terms. 2006 had its 50th anniversary. But that's the only thing that they mention. They don't have things in order. 1930, 1956 are kind of in different areas. So this is mainly facts and opinions, and it's just informational. And that's what expository means, informational. So that's about all we can get out of this. Practice reading it, 120 to 140 words a minute. Write down words you have difficulty. Make sure you fill out your reading log. For those of you who are having difficulty reading all the way through, have someone read all the way through to you, and you can kind of follow along. And then I would say 4 and 5 are the easiest paragraphs. I would make sure everyone reads at least that. Now, you can count the words in 4 and 5 to come up with a number for the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this is 13 words. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 28 there, 29, 30, and 30 here. And then add these words to it. If that's 30 words that you do in a minute, that's fine. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. This would be 42. 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. Okay. So give this one a shot. And when you have books that I send out to you in your folders, you can go ahead and keep those books, and those are for pleasure, so you can read those on your own at any time you like.